the performance that they had in this series gives, I think, a lot of Mavericks fans confidence that anything can happen going forward for the rest of this postseason.
It was like, going into this series, like, dude, gravy. Like anything you had,
Same.
You already won. You already won a playoff. You already won a playoff series. That was your goal. The primary goal of the season was to advance in the postseason. And now they win the next series, and it's like, okay, like pedal to the metal, boys. Like this is. I want to sit here and say, I'm not going to be disappointed if they lose in this next series or in the NBA Finals. But it's like, you got here, like, all in. Like, let's go. Like, let's not the whole, well, we've already hit our goal. That was this series. Now that's out the door. The Mavericks will have the best player on the floor for the rest of the postseason. That there is no. You could have made the argument with Giannis. You cannot make that argument anymore. They have the best player on the floor. They will not play a game the rest of the postseason, no matter who they play. If it's just this series or if it's this series or the next one, they will not only have the best player on the floor, they will have the best player on the floor by a wide margin for the rest of this postseason. And that means then that makes you a viable title contender.
As closely as I cover this team for this station and watching this team, practice and play, you looked at what they were going up against the Phoenix Suns in this best-of-7 series. And, again, I picked the Suns in 7. My thought behind that was the Mavericks are a scrappy team that has the best player on the floor in this series, and it could get to 6 or 7 games. But the Suns ultimately were the more talented team with the deeper team. But what you didn't account for was the wild ebbs and flows of this series and the way that both of these teams were able to protect home court in the blowout fashion that they did. And then in the one game that you expect the Suns to show up in, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, despite what Chris Paul had been going through in this series, you thought going back home in a Game 7 that they would be able to put it to the Mavericks and take care of business to move on to the Western Conference Finals. The Suns picked the worst time of their season to have their worst game of the season. And you give the Mavericks for putting themselves in that position with Jason Kidd, the defensive adjustments that he's made. I was texting with Jared Sandler about this last night, and the fact that Jason Kidd coached circles around the NBA Coach of the Year in Monty Williams. Monty Williams deserved, in my opinion, to win Coach of the Year in the NBA. 64 wins, best team in the league, 8 games clear of the next best team in the league, and were the defending Western Conference champions. I thought should have won it last year, honestly. But you thought he would have the coaching edge just a little bit in this series. That was not the case. You give Jason Kidd a ton of credit for the way that he handled his adjustments with Frank Ntilikina, inserting him into this series, the adjustment that he made on putting Reggie Bullock on Devin Booker as the series went on. Jason Kidd was able to put his team in the best spots to succeed, and his team rewarded him with an absolutely dominant performance in Game 7. But a lot of credit goes to him. And for me, made me eat some crow myself, because I'm not going to lie to you, Chop. When they made this hire, when the Mavericks made this hire of Jason Kidd, there wasn't a lot of evidence to present to me that he was actually good at this. The stops that he had in Milwaukee and Brooklyn didn't end the way that they wanted it to, but he is a completely different coach than spending those last 2 years in Los Angeles, and he has proven that throughout the course of the season, and now culminating that with helping his team beat the Phoenix Suns this series.
Yeah, look, he was always he was a fine coach. He was a good coach. He wasn't nothing special.
He was okay.
Yeah.
Right? Let's not get into it. He was okay.
Yeah, and then perhaps maybe he grew as a coach. It happens. Some things click. You look at Bill Belichick was not this, oh my God, wizard in Cleveland. Get Tom Brady. Kind of helped. It was there's Joe Torre was not some wizard of a manager in St. Louis and Atlanta or with the Mets. He goes to the Yankees and all of a sudden he wins. Like, you've seen coaches go, smart coaches, smart people go from, okay coaches to it clicks, we figure it out, let's rock. And that's what happened. That's what appears. That's what happened with Jason Kidd. Now, look, 2 years down the road, we might be singing a different tune. We're singing a much different tune about Rick Carlisle today than we were a decade ago. We just are. And that's unfortunate, but it's the reality of it. I mean, maybe he just didn't work with Luka. Just didn't work out. Jason Kidd is. And you're right. He coached circles around Monty Williams. Circles. That's another guy to get off my TV. The entire Phoenix Suns. I am not watching another Phoenix Suns game. I am not watching another Chris Paul game ever for the rest of my life. Book it. Not watching one. Hopefully he retires.
From the 469 on the truckrate.com text line, the Mavs have now caused two teams to implode in these playoffs. I mean,
yeah,
not a lot told there.
No,
because the Suns have questions about what they're going to do with DeAndre Ayton. Obviously, Chris Paul and his future, he says he's going to return, but at age 37, looked washed for the final 5 games of this series. And now, having won the Western Conference last year, getting knocked out in the second round, Phoenix has got a lot of questions. And we know what's, maybe taking place in Utah for their season. But you brought a very interesting question that I want to dive into real quick here. You talked about Luka Doncic being the best player remaining in these playoffs. Ranking them, I would have Luka, Stephen Curry, Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler as my top 4 players remaining in this series, because the pedigree of Stephen Curry and what he is as a champion, the greatest three-point shooter of all time, has still got a ton left in the tank. But Jason Tatum has been absolutely sensational in these playoffs. A 46-point performance, against the Milwaukee Bucks. He's been terrific for them. But I've got Luka, Steph, Tatum, Jimmy Butler as my 4 best players remaining in this NBA conference finals now.
Yeah, I'm struggling with the where to put Tatum and Jimmy, because as great as Steph is he as good as he used to be? And he is getting a little up there in age. I mean, we were talking about a guy who's in his mid-30s. It's funny if you look at his playoff numbers. His field goal percentage, was a little bit down this year in the postseason, but man, this is still one of the all-time greats. And not somebody that you want to, let's say in a game 7, you get hot and he can shoot you out of the gym. He can shoot you out of the gym on any given night. And so can Clay. Now, triple single can't. All right, he can't.
Mm-hmm.
But all he can do is get in fights with Kendrick Perkins. That's about all he can do.